Hello and welcome to Beer Club with Beer Jerk. I'm Luke and today we are drinking fine Quail-ities from Kererú. Perhaps I should have started the video by saying howdy, because this is a California common, a historic style that is from California, you guessed it. So similar to the founders and owners of Kererú, who are also American imports, Chris and his wife Natasha. At Kererú, they have a pretty big operation in Brewtown, just north of Wellington. And I like about Kererú that they do a whole bunch of different styles. Of course, they do hoppy beers and lagers and the big sellers basically and hazies. But you can always find some decent historic styles and European styles and beers with interesting adjuncts. Kererú are quite famous for their barrel-aged beers and beers that infuse truffles and other wonderful and interesting ingredients. So the beer that we have here is a pretty unusual beer style. It's a California common, also known as a steam ale. And you don't see these beers around really. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 other breweries that have released California commons in New Zealand in recent years. And in 10.5 years of Beer Jerk, we have never had a California common beer style, despite me saying that Beer Jerk is all about embracing lots of different styles and about discovery and finding new things. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, because there aren't many California commons around. And second, because it is my least liked beer style. I don't really like this style. But when I was discussing with our Californian bartender, Rachel, a few weeks ago, she correctly pointed out that doesn't matter and it shouldn't come into it because a bunch of you guys may be really into it. And the fact is, it's a really good beer. It's really well made. It's just my personal taste and preference. It's probably one of the last styles that I would choose to go for. But I'm having a few swigs of this. And of course, I'm enjoying it because it is lovely, delicious beer made by very talented people. It's pretty heavily hopped it was Chinook. So it's got a real lovely, sort of like a orange marmalade character, people always say for Chinook. It's going well with the breadiness, the maltiness. So what is a California common? It's kind of a bastard lager, really. So the style came about in the 1800s when California and San Francisco especially were awash with immigrants, people that were working on the railways and most significantly working as part of the gold rush. So all these people needed lots of beer, and the German brewers were very, very happy to oblige. But because this was the brand new world, there weren't really the facilities like they had in Germany. So lagering tanks, temperature control were definitely not available, and there aren't many caves around San Francisco, the same as there are in Bavaria and around Burton-on-Trent. So these brewers in this young economy were not able to have decent temperature control and to lager the style to make the pilsners and lagers that they were used to brewing. So they created a whole new style, which was California Common or Steam Ale, which is, it's a lager. It's made with a lager yeast, but it's fermented at a warmer temperature. And of course, like anything, when it goes that far from its homeland and the trials of distance and of time, things change here and there, and especially the early days with California Common. Of course, they didn't have access to the wonderful maltings and barley growers that they had in Europe. So different sorts of cereals, different sorts of grains would have been used. So today California Commons they're a bit more malty, a bit more like bready character than just a traditional crisp lager. And because you don't have that lagering, you haven't got that extended cold conditioning time, they're not as crisp as like the beauty and the snap of a lager. So it's sort of halfway between, I guess like an amber ale and a lager. And it's it's smashable. It's easy drinking. It's I suppose it's in the same world. It fills the same purpose as something like a mild in English history, and it's a beer for quaffing and smashing loads of. And of course, this version, as I mentioned, they've just really elevated the hop character, which really makes it into something a little bit different. It isn't just a boring California common, which is my personal. Well, it's not going to prejudice, it's just my opinion. Different people like different things, right? It is a really enjoyable pub beer. You know, it is the sort of thing that you'd really enjoy after a hard day's work. So, Kererú, as I mentioned, they're adjacent to Brewtown, so they don't actually have a tap room that you can go and drink beers in. They sort of you just walk to it around the fence, but they do have a fillery. So you can go there and meet Chris himself, very likely, because his office is just next to the fillery. So you can buy their beer there and fill flagons with it. And if you're lucky and they're very quiet, you can have a little peek into the brewery, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a very impressive brewery. When I went there for the first time, I was surprised at the size and the scale of it. And one of the major things that Kererú have been doing, which is really they're in a league of their own in New Zealand, are their gluten-free beers. Which are very, very good beers, and they're made with no barley. I've gone down whole paths with running Beer Jet for well over 10 years now, and sort of the trend for Atkins diets and people avoiding gluten and avoiding carbs, and people who are celiacs. So I've learned a lot about parts per million of gluten in suspension, things like that. So if you're just trying to avoid gluten, or you're a little bit sensitive to it, you can actually drink very dry beers. So beers like something like Urban Orts Copacabana, or any like Brut IPA, or any very dry beer, any sort of really light tasting lager, or beers that have sort of corn in them. They have very, very little gluten, but especially Brut beers, because the enzyme that's using them breaks down the sugars so that the yeast can have access to more of them, so there's very little residual. But that is not the path that the Kererú team with their gluten-free beers. They are completely gluten-free, so there was never any gluten in there. I should have looked this up, but I believe they used chestnuts and things like sorghum wheat. Apologies if you're watching at Kererú that I did not check this before recording. But yeah, those beers are only sold in cans, so there's no cross-contamination of them going through beer lines. So you're probably not celiac because you're part of Beer Club, but if you have a loved one that is celiac and misses beer, definitely get involved with the Kererú properly gluten-free range of beers. They do 3 or 4 of them, which is really, really cool to see. And it really is a family affair, because as I mentioned at the start, it's Natasha as well as Chris, and she is the artist of all of their really fun beer labels. And it's really cool as someone that designs beer labels myself and has a first-class honours degree in fine art. I love to see the little nods and references in Natasha's labels to whether it's Bruegel, or whether it's Klimt, or a lot of and of course they're normally birds that are on the labels. That's what they're all about, Kererú, or different kinds of animals. But how she has these little nods to these wonderful classic artists in her labels. And if you are interested in that sort of thing, check out the Kererú YouTube channel, where there's I think 2 or 3 short videos of Natasha describing her processes, which are really interesting to see. So she uses generally, there's an app called Procreate, which is I think I discovered a few years ago, which is basically on a terribly named app, Procreate. But anyway, it's when you've got one of those iPads and a pencil, you can draw it on your iPad, but it's just a fantastic piece of software that you can draw the layers, and you can fill things in, and you can trace things and have layer after layer and remove your mistakes. So for me personally, I can't really draw with a pencil and paper, but using the digital pencil and Procreate on an iPad, it's a whole different story, because you can bend things and change things, and you can replace and copy and clone, and so it's really cool watching her process with that. And a while ago, she did a really cool video about how for one label, I think it was referencing Bruegel, and she created a whole bunch of parts for it using AI, I think Midjourney or something like that, to create different elements. But it's really cool to watch it because, of course, so many of us are so disparaging of AI slop when it comes to artwork and everything. But to watch how she uses it, and it's just one tool in her armory and tool in her box, and as she's putting pieces together, it's, I suppose, those who are very disparaging about AI slop definitely could not design a label that is as cool as the one that Natasha's talking about in this specific video, because of course it also is artistry and blending things and mixing things together and having the creative vision in the first place. So yeah, it's a cool thing to watch, and I think it may change the way you think about artists incorporating artificial intelligence in their work. And of course, Kererú, absolutely love a good pun. Fine Quail-ities. Fine qualities. Qual. I don't really. I'm not an American or a New Zealander, so maybe if you pronounce it in a different accent, it will sound more similar. But a common California quail depicted on here. I remember the first time I saw California quails here in New Zealand. They're just such awesome birds. In my country, in England, quails are way more drab. They're these like little small brown things. Still lovely, later delicious eggs, but these California quails we see around New Zealand are, very cool. All right, so Kererú, cool brewery. Next time you're around Brewtown, Maidstone up a hut, go pay them a visit. You may get to meet Chris himself. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think. As I say, I feel really awkward and weird about saying that I don't like California Commons, because I do. I love all beer styles, but you have to like some more than others, and it just so happens that I enjoy drinking Oud Bruins more than a California Common generally. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm looking forward to smashing the rest of it and getting a can to Rachel as well, our California bartender here at the Smorgasbord Tap Room. And if you're a home brewer, perhaps you will be inspired to brew a California Common, because it's kind of like brewing a lager. You don't need to bother with temperature control. So really perfect style to brew at home with limited facilities, the same as those German brewers in California in the 1800s. Thanks for joining me. Thank you to the whole team at Kererú, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And finally, last thing to add is that I just sent an email out about the premium advent calendars. So we do 4 different advent calendars at Beer Jag, but the best one, because it's the most expensive, is the premium one, which is basically this every day of December. So we get 24 rare, exclusive, limited beers from fantastic breweries all around the place, and we discover one every day. We've been doing it for years now. We're the first people in New Zealand to do beer advent calendars, and they are really good fun. So the premium one, I actually haven't promoted it yet. I sent out an email when it launched to people that had previously bought it, and I've just sent those people another email. But yeah, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be sending it to our proper mailing list and putting it on social media and things. So if you want to get involved, they do sell out. So head to the Beer Jag website and grab our premium advent calendar. Forget all about it, and then it will turn up at your doorstep in late November for you to have this fun experience, one beer a day throughout December in the lead up to Christmas. Cheers, see you next time.